What's going on, guys? Pat here. In today's product spotlight video, we are going to be talking about our Billet AFX drop spindles. Now, full disclosure, out of all the products that we currently have out on the market, these are hands down my favorite. What these do as far as adding performance and tunability to your front suspension is arguably unmatched, not just with other spindles, but pretty much any other front suspension upgrade. Now, typically you would run drop spindle. Well, it's in the name to drop the car, right? It's arguably the only right way to drop a car. You can do it with lowering springs or lowering it on a coilover, but the problem with those methods is that if you think about the car ride height with the control arms, when you drop it with those, you're basically sweeping the suspension through its motion, however much you're dropping the car by, and that's going to compromise your geometry. If you have a suspension that's designed around being at a certain ride height, and then all of a sudden you sweep it up 2 inches to get a 2-inch drop out of it, you're taking that geometry and completely throwing it out the window. And we see that time and time again in the muscle car world. People will spend thousands on a nice aftermarket suspension and then put in lowering springs or lower it on the coilovers, and then you take all that benefit you just paid for and chuck it out the window. But with a drop spindle, what it does is it takes the actual wheel mount location and then shifts it up the amount that you're going to drop the car by. So for example, these are 2-inch drop spindles. So this wheel hub mount location is 2 inches higher than where it would be on a factory spindle. So what you can do then is lower the car, but you're still preserving your suspension geometry. So it's the best of both worlds. You're still getting that aggressive ride height, but you're able to keep your camber gain and your roll center positions intact and preserve that geometry that you would have at the base ride height. Now, lowering the car is really the most elementary function of our spindles. Really the big benefit of these is going to be the adjustable upper ball joint pocket. Pretty much all spindles on the market are what's called a tall spindle. So basically the distance from the lower ball joint to the upper is taller than it would be on a factory spindle. You'll see on a lot of those 1.25 to 1.5 inches taller, meaning that this will be 1.25 to 1.5 inches further away from the lower than a factory spindle. And that helps with raising the roll center height, helping get camber gain to be a little better, at least when you're coming from a factory suspension setup. And for most street driven cars, that's going to be fine. The problem is if you want to really fine tune to your specific setup, or if you're into racing and you really want to dial in things like your roll center height and camber gain, you can't do that with a fixed spindle because it locks you into a certain geometry. So what our spindle allows you to do is actually move the upper ball joint pocket so you can effectively get different height spindles. So you might find that at say 1.25 inches full height, this at its top, 1.25 inches taller than stock, maybe that's perfect for you. Or maybe say, hey, I don't have enough camber gain, so I need to bring it back down and have that adjustability in there. In the past, you could kind of do that by buying a bunch of different ball joints and then putting them in your control arms. But that's a bit of a pain to have to press in different ball joints and have like 10 different ball joints on standby versus this. You just do it with the spindle, you don't have to buy any more parts. It greatly simplifies that process. But the other cool thing about having the upper ball joint adapter, like ours does, that's removable, is that you can actually now shim it at the spindle. So this is undercut, so the center line of this ball joint position relative to the wheel face is actually closer than a factory spindle. So if you were to just put this on your car with no shims in it and its shortest setup, you'd have a ton more camber if you left everything else the same. And that's intentional because we give you a shim pack that comes with this so you can shim both sides. And what this allows you to do is separate KPI and camber adjustment on the car. If you think about it, when you would traditionally on a car shim the upper control arm to set your camber, the problem is you're also changing your KPI. To keep a very long discussion short, KPI is the angle between the two ball joint center lines when you're looking at the car from the front. So if you think about it, you have your control arms. If you shim the upper one in to get more camber, you're rolling that in, you're adding more KPI angle, which isn't necessarily a good thing. We're gonna have separate tech videos talking more about these terms in case you wanna learn about them, or feel free to email us and we're happy to explain it to you. But having this means that you can separate those two adjustments, and especially if you have an upper control arm that's adjustable, so say it has rod ends on the end or threaded adjusters, now you can actually set your KPI on the upper control arm and you can shim it to just set KPI, and then you can add your shims at the spindle to set your camber. So being able to separate those two adjustments is huge. It adds a whole nother level of suspension adjustment, and especially if you're into hardcore autocross and road racing, it's very, very critical for dialing in your front suspension. It's been a game changer on our shop car, and we think a lot of people are really going to enjoy having that ability to really fine tune that in. If you don't want to shim it or play around with it, well, we sell you enough shims that you can just put all the shims in on both sides, and then you're right back to a factory setup, so you can put it in your car and you'll basically be right back to where you were, and you don't have to worry about setting the camber at the spindle. Another cool geometry feature that's built into these is adjustable or built-in bump steer correction. So the mount location for the steering arm is a 1/2 inch lower than it would be on factory spindle. And really the big thing with that is helping minimize the amount of shims that you have to run. The problem with the tie rod ends on these cars is they're mounted in single shear. And so when you run a bump steer kit with an extra long tapered stud and then a bunch of shims, you're creating a huge moment arm there. And when you're running super sticky tires and say a lot of caster and whatnot, and you're running it fully shimmed out, there's a very high probability over time that you're going to break it. So what this does is by lowering that, it minimizes the number of shims that you have to run. You're still going to have to run some shims there. You can't drop it low enough to completely take out the bump steer, but it does minimize the number of shims that you have to run, so you can help alleviate that concern. It's still not ideal being in single shear, but it's a step in the right direction, can help, if nothing else, prolong that chance of failure a little bit. These are configurable with a couple different brake setups. The ones you're looking at right here are for C6, so these will take OEM setups or aftermarket. So like for example, our shop car runs a Brembo Motorsport C6 kit, but we also offer a C7 configuration as well. In our opinion, the OEM C7 setup is a much nicer setup than anything C6. The aftermarket setups, the calipers and whatnot will be pretty much the same between C6 and C7, but C7 will give you a little better rotor fitment for a given wheel size, but we'll talk more about that in a different video. But it's nice to have a couple different flavors there, because I don't think there's any drop spindles on the market currently that even give you the option to run a C7 brake kit. For the wheel hubs on these, they take a Corvette wheel hub that you can see with the 3-bolt pattern there. These are bare, just so you guys can see the spindles, but we can ship them to you with wheel hubs. If you don't have them, we can ship them to you bare. If you want a hub without a wheel speed sensor, we'll sell these with the C7, which is the most affordable option. Or if you need a wheel speed sensor for something like traction control or ABS, or you just want to have it to read it, we can equip these with a C6 ZR1 hub as well. These are available in a couple different finishes. Right here is bare machined. We also have a black anodized finish. So the nice thing about making these fully in-house is that we can configure these pretty much however you want, and we have a lot of flexibility. Some people maybe want just the most affordable one with a bare machine finish bare. Well, we can do that. Some people want C6 ZR1 with black anodized, and we have that flexibility. If you guys have any tech questions, or there's anything you want to know about these, or say you've already bought a set and you have questions about setting it up, feel free to reach out to us 7 days a week. We offer free tech support to all of our customers. And we want to help you guys best utilize these awesome products we designed. So say you bought these and you're like, hey, here's what I'm doing with the car. How should I set these up, or what do you recommend? Shoot us an email and we're happy to discuss with you. But that's all I got for these spindles. Like I said, these are absolute game changer for front suspension on your muscle car. If you are really looking to take your front suspension to the next level, look no further than these, because these are what you need. So I'll see you in the next one.